Mentioned this earlier that we're going to talk to Missouri Senator Paul Wieland. He is on the phone with us right now, Republican senator from Imperial. Senator, how are you?
I'm doing great.
I appreciate you giving me some time today. You know, I read about your story, and I wanted people to find out a little bit more about what you went through.
Sure, yeah. Well, kind of what we started off with was here in the state of Missouri for, I think, back around 2000. If you worked for the state and you got health insurance through the state, they would have a check box you could check off that said, due to religious conscience, I choose not to have contraception coverage, et cetera, et cetera. And that worked out fine for, I guess, up until about 2011 when Obamacare came into power.
Right.
You know, they passed the Affordable Care Act. And at that point in time, the Missouri, we even overrode another protection for religious conscience that said there's nothing that can happen that can prevent, that can take away your religious conscience. And the governor vetoed it. We overrode it. But when they started implementing the Obamacare, the state of Missouri got sued, and the federal court ruled that the Obamacare trumped whatever we did at the state level.
Okay.
So the local people here, Missouri Consolidated Plan, decided we're no longer going to offer those contraception-free plans. And I remember the day I got the letter, my wife and I were sitting out on our deck, and we opened up the mail, and I said, Obamacare has finally struck our household. It's finally gotten into into us. And I was upset about it, so I started calling pro-life attorneys and people that I knew, and I said, is there any way that they can get by with this? And they told me that, they had me meet with some people, and the guy I met with said, you know what, you're a perfect case. I had 3 daughters at that time, 2 of them in high school, 1 of them in grade school, where the government is coming in and telling you how to raise your kids and telling you have to violate your moral principles in order to satisfy the government. So we filed a lawsuit, and they cited the Religious Freedom Amendment, which was passed by Congress, Restoration Act, and the Missouri state law, and basically said, you can't tell me I have to provide contraceptive and abortion coverages to my daughters. And the first case got thrown out by a district court judge. We went to the appellate court. The appellate court reinstated the case. Then we went back to the district judge, and the district judge ruled in our favor back in July.
Oh, wow.
So that was a big win for us. Now, of course, the federal government appealed it. But in the meanwhile, we sent letters to the Missouri Consolidated Plan saying, you no longer have to be worried about the federal government fining you for providing this plan to me because we have a district court judge who said that they're wrong and I'm right and you should give him the plan if you want. So just about, I'm going to say about a week ago, I think because open enrollment here in Missouri ended on October 31st.
Okay.
I think on the 27th, the Missouri Consolidated Plan Board of Directors met and they said, we will offer this plan to you. So I actually enrolled in that right before the end of the month. So my wife and I have the plan that we want. Unfortunately, the judge's decision was very narrowly crafted, so it only affected us. And so any other person that works for the state of Missouri doesn't have that option. But I think what's going to happen is now that that court's ruled in our favor, there probably will be a class action lawsuit by other people saying, hey, if you're going to give it to Senator Wieland and his wife, you need to allow us to opt out as well.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're at. Now, with what happened on Tuesday, we're not sure in the springtime whether the Department of Justice is going to pursue this appeal that they have against us, because if Obamacare is dismantled, then it's all kind of becomes less of an argument.
Right, yeah, very much so. Yeah. So that was a the outcome of the election might have been a surprise, but it was also a relief, huh? Right,
yeah, because when we started the lawsuit, it was interesting. The lawyers, they told us, they said, now, this is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court because, the Obama administration is not going to back down one step of the way. And so, Hobby Lobby went through, and the Little Sisters of the Poor was being argued, and they said, we're about 18 months behind them. So they said, if Hillary Clinton gets elected, then we anticipate going to the Supreme Court in about another 18 months, 2 years. And now, hopefully, we won't have to go that route.
Well, and now we've got a Missouri Attorney General-elect who was one of the attorneys working on the Hobby Lobby case, so you know whose side he's going to come down on.
Right, exactly. And, really, if you go back to it, if we would have had him back when the federal government, the people sued the state of Missouri, and the federal judge said, yeah, Missouri, you're wrong, we have to follow the federal law.
Mm-hmm.
If our Attorney General would have appealed that to the next level, I may never had to file a lawsuit. But he was happy with that ruling and said, okay, well, I tried, but I'm done now, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting story. And so I wonder how many other people in Missouri may end up benefiting from your effort here. I hope
Well, I hope everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everyone that wants to. I mean, it's all about freedom. It's not, I'm not saying, and of course you can imagine the radical left came down from day one attacking me, saying that I'm a Neanderthal and, all this other stuff. But all I cared about was my family, and my wife and me 100% agreed with this. We're devout Catholics. We don't believe in abortion. And the most offensive part of this was it wasn't just contraceptive coverage. It was a contraceptive coverage and abortion coverage, and the federal government saying, you have to provide this to your daughters. My wife and I talked about it, and we said, we send our kids to Catholic school. We take our faith seriously, and here it is, the federal government's trying to come in and tell us what we have to do. So we had to stand up to set an example for our girls to say our faith is worth something fighting for, so
well,
we had to do it.
Good for you for standing up for what you believe in. Let me get your comments real quick on sort of this statewide sweep by the Republicans. I mean, a couple of those races that were supposed to be close ended up being blowouts. How long has it been since Republicans held that many top elected spots in the state of Missouri?
I don't think it's ever happened. I think in the 200-year history of the Republican Party in the state of Missouri, I don't think we've ever won 7 races at the top of the ticket like we did on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
I just don't think I don't think that's ever happened. There's only been, I think, maybe 5 or 6 Secretary of States in the history of the state of Missouri that were Republican. Yeah. So it's a rarity.
Yeah, very good. Well, Senator Paul Wieland, listen, I appreciate your time, and thank you for filling us in on that situation.
No problem.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks a lot. You have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Senator Paul Wieland from Imperial there, and I just wanted people to understand what he had gone through because he's right. With the election changes a lot of things. What I want to know, and it's way too early to worry about it, but in January, does the Department of Education issue a new statement to schools saying you don't have to let anybody who wants to go into the girls' locker room? Somebody wakes up that morning deciding they're feeling like a girl, even though they've got boy parts. They can't just waltz into a girl's locker room and enjoy the environment. They can't. So bear in mind that was a Obama administration ruling, so that may change. It wasn't a court ruling. It was their interpretation of it. 314